Well, I am very excited about our next guest. You'll remember him for his great series of videos that he did for us at Rebel News. He's a prolific pundit, and I can't believe how many great books he writes. And so when I heard he had a new one, I thought, we've got to get Kurt Schlichter back on the show. You know him from his series of near-future, slightly dystopian novels about America. But this next one, I think, is going to be of great interest to America watchers up here, especially for those of you who, like me, are pro-Trump. The book, which is released tomorrow on Regnery, and you can order it now on Amazon, is called The 21 Biggest Lies About Donald Trump and You. And joining us now via Skype is Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, first of all, it's great to see you again. You've certainly kept yourself busy. Great to see you.
I have tried to, but there's, I like to think we're in the same fight. I like to think that Canada's about 3 or 4 years ahead of where their left is about 3 or 4 years ahead of our left. And you guys are kind of a terrifying glimpse of the future. The way that you've been treated has been positively Banana Republic style. And it's stunning and frightening, but inspiring that you continue to resist. And I'm very proud to have been associated with you and Rebel News and fighting back against this kind of petty and not so petty tyranny.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, if we are a cautionary tale for all Americans, hold on to your First Amendment, hold on to your Second Amendment, because those will be the first to go. That's the basis upon which everything else rests. So learn from our flaws and our mistakes. Now let's get into your book. It's called The 21 Biggest Lies About Donald Trump and You. Now, can you tell me why you add on the words "and you"? What does that mean?
Well, it's the most important part, Ezra, and I think I think in your own work you've seen the same thing. Remember, the fight isn't against Donald Trump. These guys loved Donald Trump. They liked to party with him. He was glamorous. They could ride in his plane. There were pretty girls. He'd give them money in donations. And then they realized, wait a minute, this guy doesn't respect us. And he's attempting to take power on behalf of a social class, the normal Americans, the working Americans, the one who built this country, feed it, fuel it, defend it, and taking it away from the elite. When the elite realized not only was he serious about taking power from them, but he didn't respect them. He wasn't impressed by them. He'd seen them up close. Why should he be impressed? He is an avatar for us, regular Americans and regular Canadians, too, who just want to be free people left alone. But our garbage elite can't do that. They don't have a religion. They don't have any kind of cultural understanding or any kind of moral framework. Instead, they have this bizarre pagan religion, which here manifests as climate cult idiocy, where they're worshiping the words of some Swedish waif or whatever. It's about you. It's about silencing you. It's about keeping you down. It's about making you impoverished and obedient and helpless.
Yeah.
And this book is a handbook to fight back.
You know, it's funny you say that. You make me think of a meme, a little image that Trump tweeted, and the New York Times objected and took it down. It's this very powerful photograph, and Trump's looking at you and says,
yes,
they're not coming for me, they're coming for you. I'm just standing in the way. It's a great meme, and it, as if to prove Trump right, the New York Times demanded that Twitter take that photo down. So you're right. Trump is the pointy end of the spear. He's the front line for so many of us, whether it's free speech or rule of law or a sensible pro-Western, pro-democratic foreign affairs policy. I've said before that Trump's re-election this November is probably more important to the fate of freedom in Canada even than our own election. And I'm not saying that out of any dismissiveness for Canada. It's just so important for everywhere from Iran to China to, it couldn't be more important. Now let me ask you this. One of the so-called fact checkers in the United States who's obsessed with Donald Trump is named Daniel Dale. And I'm embarrassed to say he came from Canada. He started off for the Toronto Star fact-checking the late, great Mayor Rob Ford. And I read a couple of his fact checks, and they were all opinion checks. he would say, well, Trump's wrong
Yeah.
on this or wrong on that, but I could never find a fact that was wrong. Maybe there might have been a little bit of overheated adjectives, but all this about Donald Trump fact checks, and now Facebook has imported them and whatnot, it's really people just disagreeing with his opinion. He actually generally gets things right more than any other politician, or as much as any other politician.
Well, that's certainly true, and I consider him the most talented politician of the last 30 years, the previous one being Bill Clinton. Again, I oppose Bill Clinton, but technically, I mean, he was a superb politician and communicator. And then before that, Ronald Reagan here in the United States. Look, you're absolutely right. Facts don't matter. That's one of the points of the 21 Biggest Lies about Donald Trump and you. The elite is post-fact. The elite is concerned with one thing. It's concerned with power. It works backwards from there. It's like its version of science. Well, we need more power, so let's create an entire framework of global temperature panic to justify, wow, everything we want. It's amazing. Everything they justify is everything they've always wanted but couldn't get any other way. And that's what you see here. There's no facts to check. They don't care about facts. In fact, they will tell you facts aren't important. It doesn't matter. It's about power. And facts don't matter when you fight them. As the book teaches, facts are important when you go to other normal people who aren't engaged. If you say, hey, if you believe Black Lives Matter, why are you tearing down a statue of Abe Lincoln? And a normal person will go, yeah, I don't remember high school real well. I was partying a lot, driving my Carrera, listening to Pink Floyd. But I do seem to remember that Abe Lincoln was kind of ended slavery. I remember that part. While an elite person would go, well, he's part of a colonial paradigm that empowers the cisgender patriarchy. So it's important that we destroy his statue, too. So we have to maintain facts to convince the unconvinced. As far as fighting the left, we need to do what we need to do, which is power. We need to get power through the electoral system, exercise it ruthlessly to enforce the standards that made Western civilization great.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.